Alright guys, we've got a lot to cover, so let's go ahead and jump right into the video. Now there's been a lot of confusion around seasons and scenarios, and I want to help you understand this part of how Once Human works. First, I do want to kind of cover the term season and scenario. Now I've seen these words used a lot, even by the devs. What I've noticed is it seems that the devs tend to use these two terms interchangeably. Now I don't really think that the devs are at fault here, as it's probably just a translation issue. But I do honestly feel like this is causing some of the issue. Western audiences tend to think of seasons as a set period of time. After that period of time, audiences expect new content. I think a lot of the expectation came from us as a community by taking Western ideas and pushing them onto an Eastern style game. Now, I'm not saying that we as a community are at fault here, but I do think this has really conflated the issue and made it quite a bit less clear than it should be. So in moving forward with the conversation, we're going to function under the assumption that seasons and scenarios are terms that can be used interchangeably. With that understanding, let's actually look at what the developers have said. The developers have recently stated that there will be 4 new scenarios per year. Currently, we have Manibus and the Way of the Winter for PvE. For PvP, we have Evolution's Call and the Prismaverse Clash. Now, based on our current roadmaps, we can expect each one of these to last between 6 and 7 weeks. Doing each one of these scenarios on Novice would take a player 28 weeks to clear. Now, based on what we've seen up to this point, we also know that there will be a normal and a hard mode for each one of these scenarios. Those seemingly roll out after the Novice scenario is complete. If we factor those in as well, you can calculate out another 28 weeks worth of content. Now, if we take 28 times 2, we come up with a total of 56 weeks worth of content. And yes, that equals a full year's worth of content. Right now, with everything we've been told, we have to assume that these are the 4 new scenarios that the developers have mentioned. Based on my math, this would cover a full year. Now, we can hope and speculate the developers meant that there would be 4 new scenarios for PvE and 4 scenarios for PvP. However, they did not specifically state that. The math does seem to imply that the 4 scenarios we are aware of are the only scenarios currently planned. Now, while this is only speculation, it seems to make sense and is in line with what we've been told by the developers up to this point. Now, once we have clarification from the developers, we will know more. But honestly, even with that clarification, it will not change how the model itself actually works. So now that we've clarified what a scenario actually is, we need to discuss what happens when your current scenario is on its final phase. When your scenario hits its last phase, the devs have said that you will have roughly 4 weeks to choose a new scenario to take your character to. If you do not pick a new scenario, your character and your items will be sent to the Eternal Land. The reason for this is because your server will be closed. Now, I think a lot of people are getting confused here. Don't think of the end of Once Human scenarios as a reset, because it's not. It is actually a full-blown server wipe. Nothing is left on the server when the end of Phase 6 has been completed. Once your character is in the Eternal Land, you can choose a new scenario and transfer your character to that server/scenario. Now, you don't actually have to wait for the full 4 weeks. You can sign up for a new server as soon as your character's current scenario hits Phase 6. Now, signing up for a new server does not instantly transfer you to that server. You actually have to wait until that server opens before you can transfer in. When it does come time for you to transfer into that server, you will be able to bring a certain amount of items with you from your previous scenario. Anything that you don't choose to bring will be sent to the Eternal Land for you. Now don't worry, these items are not automatically converted to astral sand. There is actually a pretty extensive list of items that will come with you no matter what. Now I'm not going to read the entire list, but I am going to put it up on the screen so you can read through it while I talk about it. Most of your major currencies will come across. That includes Starcrum, Christian, Mitsuko's Marks, Stellar Planula, Sproutlets, basically anything that you had to grind for that was considered a currency in the game. One thing to note here, energy links do not come across, so just keep that in mind. Your gear blueprints and their ratings or their levels will come across with you, as well as blueprint fragments, weapon accessories, and weapon and armor mods, including the parts for those. All of your fashion, your cosmetics, all of those types of items will come across as well. Furniture blueprints will come across with you. Just keep in mind, if you unlock them through memetics, you will have to unlock them again. And you can see here, main and story progression, seasonal items, and event items will come across to some degree. And keep in mind that these will automatically transfer over scenario. Now, outside of these items, you can bring over the following items. However, these are limited and have specific costs to bring across. You can bring across weapons and armor, but they will cost you. Outside of that, you can bring common resources such as materials, medicine, ammos, and items like that. You can as well bring deviation and calibration blueprints. Now, all of these items will have a specific cost associated with them, and you will have a max that you have to stay under when bringing items across. Now, I'm not going to go over the cost of each specific item because those could change from scenario to scenario, depending on if the devs decide to balance the game or make changes to them. The important part here is to know that if the item was not on the guaranteed list, you will have to make a decision on if you want to bring that item or not. Not every item will come across with you from scenario to scenario. What you do not take will be sent to your Eternal Land. Now, my feeling on this is, with the current points model, I would suggest bringing over deviants in controllers. The reason behind that is everything else is just too expensive and not worth bringing over. Most of the gear that you would want to bring, you would be level locked out of and wouldn't have access to using for several weeks. To me, that's just a waste of an item slot in my opinion. Bringing deviants will make the farming and neutral game much smoother and will take some of the work off of your hands, so you can go out there and play the game instead of grinding resources. On top of that, honestly, some of these deviants have great utility, and for the current cost, it doesn't make any sense not to bring them. Now, if costs change substantially between scenarios, my opinion may change. But for now, deviants seem to be the way to go. Outside of that, once you have maxed out the deviants that you want to bring, I would backfill in everything else with controllers. Now, hopefully this helps clear up some of the confusion around seasons and scenarios. I honestly think a lot of the issue was just a translation issue mixed with Western audiences' expectations. Let me know if this actually helped clear up any of your questions and helped you understand how scenarios work in Once Human. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like and subscribing for more Once Human content. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a great day.